So at SaaSiest in Amsterdam this year, I'm talking about positioning. This is my favorite topic. In fact, this is my only topic. I've worked with over 300 tech companies on their positioning. Positioning is kind of my jam. I wrote the book on positioning. You might recognize it. It's this one here. It's called Obviously Awesome. So this year I'm going to do a talk on how to think about positioning, how to recognize if your positioning is no good, what you should do if your positioning is weak. And I'm going to walk through the exact steps you would take to tighten up your positioning to make sure that your prospects really understand how you're different and better than the other things that they could do to solve their problem. I'm also doing a smaller, intimate session just for CEOs. I love these. These are my absolute favorite things to do. And what this is it's going to be more of an interactive session where you can come and get your questions answered. I'm going to teach two things there. I'm going to talk a little bit about my positioning process at a little bit more length than I could get into in a conference talk. And then secondly, I'm going to talk about how do you take your positioning and translate it into a really killer sales pitch. If you come to this session, what you're going to get is some one-on-one time with me, which I love, and generally these sessions are super fun, so you should show up for that. So, I speak at a lot of conferences, and what I like is when a conference is really well organized and the energy level is high. You don't always get that. I mean, tech people are not always super high energy, so I think it's hard to get a conference happening where there's a lot of energy. I think SaaSiest is a conference where there's great energy. The first time I spoke at SaaSiest, the one in Malmo, was fantastic. And then the one in Amsterdam was fun because I had no idea what to expect. The venue was really cool. I had a bunch of really great conversations. When they asked me to come back, I was like, yeah, sure, let's do that again. Do you know what my favorite thing is at conferences? Like the thing that I love more than anything at conferences is when folks come up to me and try to quiz me with super hard questions. I actually love that. Like some people don't want that. Like some speakers are like scared of Q&A and they don't want hard questions. And I love hard questions. Like this is the way I learn. And not only that, it's the way I learn what people understand and don't understand about my stuff is when they come and challenge me about it. Like, I mean, be nice about it. Like, don't be a jerk. But if you come up and say, you know what, you said this, but you also said this, and I think those two things are in conflict, explain yourself. And I'm like, oh, happy to do that. I'll explain myself all day. Let's do that. It's part of the reason why I like these smaller sessions with the CEOs. It's really valuable for the CEOs, but it's also really valuable for me. And so having the ability to just have a wide open session like that where we can go back and forth is great. But we get to do it at the conference as well when I'm doing a keynote talk where people come to me afterwards and they're like, well, wait a second, you said this, but you said this, and then you said this other thing. And I don't understand how those three things come together. And I'm like, great, let's talk about that. That's like literally my favorite thing.